Hi there, and welcome to Ask the Chiropractor. I'm Dr. Paul Rodnick, a chiropractor out of Saginaw, Michigan. And with me today is Dr. Neil Rodnick. How are you doing today?
Doing good. It's good to be here.
And he practices out of Midland?
Midland, Michigan. Yep.
All right, fantastic. And we have a very exciting show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the change of the seasons. We had a lot of weather changes here recently. We're just transitioning, getting from the fall months going into the winter months. And we're going to be talking about some hazards that can happen to your body coming along with these changes. Some real important ones. Just recently I've been having a lot in my office of people who had injuries raking leaves. Have you been seeing the same?
Real common these last
Real
month or so,
common.
Yep.
And now also with we got deer season going on, so we got a lot of activity with the deer going on. Michigan is a very active state for deer automobile accidents, so we'll get into that as well. And then we're going to be getting into the winter months coming up here, and along with that comes some other hazards such as
some slips, falls, back along with the road thing, a lot more car accidents with the ice and snow.
Absolutely. Along with that too, equivalent to the raking the leaves, we got the shoveling the snow as well.
Yep.
So we're going to get into a couple of things here, and then as always we'll talk some about chiropractic, teach our viewers more about what we're doing, and again we're going to do some exercises, show the people exactly how to keep their spines healthy on their own. So we're going to start off talking about raking leaves. Okay. What have you noticed are some common...
Most common thing with the raking leaves, people be reaching forward a little bit too much, pulling back too hard, and all of a sudden they're usually throw some ribs out of place is one of the most common things with it.
Absolutely. Getting into ribs, just kind of switching topics for a second, off the raking into the ribs. Something a lot of people don't know about how the ribs work is, so you have your spine coming down the middle, and the ribs actually attached to the spine coming out on both sides. And what happens is you have a shoulder blade right here, and your shoulder blade actually protects your rib heads. Now the issue that people get with when their rib heads move out is that their ribs will actually kind of pop back. It causes a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort. You'll notice that when you take a deep breath in, it hurts.
A sharp, stabbing, knife-like type of pain.
More often than not, 9 times out of 10 when somebody says it hurts when I take a deep breath in, it's a rib issue. So what happens with the ribs is, so you have your shoulder blade here protecting those rib heads. Now when you move your arm out, when you reach, it actually takes your shoulder blade and shifts it off to the side one way or the other. And when that happens, it actually leaves your rib heads exposed. Now when your rib heads are exposed, they're more apt to move out of place. And then when they're exposed and then you exert yourself, that's where the issue comes into play. So what happens is if you're twisting and exerting yourself, so if you're twisting and pushing or twisting and pulling, cause a lot of issues. Now how does that fall into play with the raking? Well, most people rake improperly. Their body, they'll plant their feet.
Full extension, the full going back, it's...
Exactly. Now the key is to not just twist your spine, you gotta move your whole body. So a lot of people, they'll plant their feet and they'll reach and rake and then they'll move when they have to. The key is keep moving all along, so you're not bending, you're not reaching, you're keeping everything as close to your body as possible. As things start to get away from your body, the farther the distance things are from your center of gravity, the heavier they seem. So for example, if I were to hold the spine right up here close to my body, it's a lot lighter for me than if I'm walking around carrying it like this. Carry it like this, I'm only going to be able to carry this for a couple minutes at the most before my arm gives out. So you really want to make sure everything's staying close to your body. So when you're working that rake, again, everything close to your body. Now raking is also what we like to call a one-sided activity. Now there's a whole bunch of one-sided activities that people do. More often than not, people notice they're one-sided activities through sports, things such as golfing, tennis, bowling, anything where you're always doing everything on the same side.
However, with raking, though, it is an easier one to switch to the other side.
Absolutely.
It's not something where it's going to screw up my game, anything like that. And it actually helps to balance, support, kind of keep the stress on both sides of your body.
And that's one that a lot of people don't think about. They say, well, it's most comfortable, it's easiest when I do it like this. Not even just raking, just sweeping your floor. Anything where you're using a long handle like that. Raking, you're pulling towards you. When we get into snow shoveling, it's actually pushing away from you. So slightly different mechanics. But the important thing to remember is you want to keep everything close to your body. You want to move your body as a whole. You don't want to twist. You don't want to reach. Again, always the most important thing with whatever you're doing is you want to stay focused on your body. You want to be focused on keeping your body straight, so whether you're sitting, standing, laying, reaching, you always want to be keeping everything close. Now, if you have to bend, I know a lot of people, have to get closer to the ground when they're raking. Don't bend at the waist, bend at the legs. Now, we were just talking about earlier what happens when you hold things farther out from your body. You want to explain what happens
Sure.
with the bending position?
Yep. So they did some different studies. The bending forward actually causes about 10 times more pressure on your spinal cord when you're leaning forward than as if you were just standing normal. And the twisting as well would also cause about the same 10 times the pressure on your spine. But the problem with it is that when you do both at the same time, it actually builds on itself. So say you had 100-pound upper torso, you bend forward, that's going to cause it to be like 1,000 pounds. When you bend and twist at the same time, it massively increases.
And
I'm
then,
not sure the exact number.
Not only are you bending, twisting, but you're also pulling. So you're pulling into yourself while you're bending. So now you have 100-pound torso, bending over, it's 1,000 pounds. You have 3 pounds of leaves, and you're pulling on them with 10 pounds of force. So now you got 130 pounds plus that 1,000 pounds, all putting pressure right on your lower back.
That's when the back injury happens.
And that's exactly when the back injury happens. So the thing I want our viewers to remember when no matter what you're doing, stay conscious of your body. You don't want to be pairing, bending, and twisting together. If you do have to bend, you want to do it at your legs so you can keep your body straight. If your body's straight, you can bend all you want at the legs, at the knees, and it won't put that extra pressure. Now that 3 pounds and 10 pounds is 13 pounds instead of 130 pounds.
Right.
Really makes a big difference. Now we'll get into kind of along with that same topic into the shoveling snow here in a bit. But before we do that, I want to stick with the fall before we get into the winter. Another big issue we see in the fall is deer accidents. I believe.
So going in with the deer accidents, especially this time of year when hunting season's coming up, the deer are going to be more active, running around, not acting as normal. In Michigan alone, the number for car accidents that are reported every year is about 65,000 car accidents just from deer alone. And that's the reported number, which means there's probably a lot more.
More often than not, too, when I see people who are in deer accidents, they don't report it. They're saying, oh, it wasn't that bad, I didn't do too much damage to my car. But it's not the amount of, it's not the speed that you're going, it's not the amount of damage to your car, it's how your body reacts to it, so how your body handles it. And even a slow, 3-mile-an-hour fender bender can really have an effect on you.
Going into that real quick before you go to your video, they say the worst of whiplash injuries actually occur when your car's going about 10 miles an hour taking a turn if you get hit. So just to show that going fast and getting in the accident's not going to be that different than if it were just a smaller hit.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, an accident at 70 miles an hour is still pretty horrible.
But as far as the whiplash, the most common one is at the lower speeds.
At the slow speeds, yep.
Yep.
A lot of people, too, when they're in an accident, they say, oh, that didn't hurt that much, I'm fine, everything's fine. And they don't realize the damage that it does to them internally. And in the long run, that's when they start to feel the aches, the pain. Somebody can hit a deer and say, oh, I feel fine. A year later, they say, I got these headaches, I got this neck pain, I don't know what happened. It just came on slowly over the last year. Well, you hit a deer. You got in a car accident. Car accidents in general are one of the worst things you can do to your body. It's one of the most unnatural things you can do to your body, motion-wise, because you're either at 0 miles an hour and all of a sudden moving 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, or you're moving 70 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden 0 miles an hour.
Yep.
And what that does inside causes a whole lot of problems. So we just have a couple of videos here that we're going to show, just to kind of show the mechanics of what happens during a whiplash injury. Real quick, if we could show these videos. All right, so we're going to be looking at here, this is a video of a model that is getting hit from behind at a 3-mile-an-hour accident. Now 3 miles an hour, again, doesn't sound that bad. When you watch the video, watch how the head whips back and then whips back forward. That's how whiplash injury happens. And again, this is just a slow accident, and it can be the same thing from either way. So this particular one was the getting rear-ended, but you can do the same thing rear-ending someone. You can do the same thing from the side even. But what happens is you get hit, your head flies back, and then flies back forward. And what that does is a few things. One, you have tendons, muscles, ligaments lining the spine on both sides. And so when your head flies back, it actually stretches the ligaments out in front and squeezes down on the ones in the back. So it really whips you back, stretches these, crushes these, and then the exact opposite. Your head bounces back. These ones that were crushed down all of a sudden are stretched, and these ones that were stretched all of a sudden are crushed down. Now, whether you feel that right away or you feel it a week later, a month later, or if you get instability from it, causes all kinds of issues. And then alignment-wise, and we were just talking about this just earlier as well, what happens, if you want to kind of explain the biphasic curve for us?
Sure. We're talking when we turn, get the side curves going. So basically with the accident, if your head's turned and it does that same type of injury, it's going to cause a lot more trouble, a lot more problems in the neck, because the spine's not meant to fully extend, flex when the head's turned, when there's those motions going on. And
that goes the same as well. So it's not only just when your head's turned. Well, head turns is
tilted, turned, not straight.
Anything other than the normal posture, and then also anything other than normal angles. So when you get hit from behind or in front, you're going like this. When you get hit from the side, you're going like this. But if you get hit from the corner, all of a sudden you're all over
flying
the place.
All over. Yep.
Really cause a lot of issues. Now another thing too, your neck is supposed to have a normal curve in it going backwards. Now what happens when you get in a whiplash injury like that, it'll actually change that curve into two different curves.
First thing with you're going to get that hyperextension, and at the same time that flexion's going to come in at the top. So it starts to cause the curves to go totally
So all of a sudden,
in the wrong
instead
directions.
of having a nice curve going one way, now you have two curves, both of them going opposite ways. Really causes a lot of issues. And what we're looking for as chiropractors is, what does it cause issues with? The spine and the nervous system. The spine's the most important part in the body because it houses the nervous system. You got the nerve roots coming out the sides. You got the spinal cord on the inside. Now, when you lose that normal curve, now let's just say just for a one-phase reverse curve, you have that reverse curve. It's actually going to stretch your spinal cord anywhere from top to bottom, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches. Now, when something gets stretched, it thins right out. So, for example, if I had a rubber band and I pulled on it, it gets thinner. Now, the spinal cord, the nerves, they run nerve signals. Now, the nerve signals are more or less electrical signals. They're a little bit different. They're a little bit more complicated. They're actually chemical electric signals, but they run the same way as electricity does. Now, if you were to have two wires, if you had a wire that's this thick and then a wire that's this thick, which one of them is going to run more electricity better? The bigger wire every time.
The bigger one. Yep.
And quick example on that. That's why the electrical wires running over the street are bigger than the electrical wire that runs your computer. Is bigger than the electrical wire that runs your clock radio. Because the more electricity, the bigger the wire. Now, same thing with these nerve signals. You have your spinal cord coming through, supposed to be this thick. If you have that reverse curve, all of a sudden your spinal cord gets stretched. Now your cord is this big. So if this one runs more electricity better than this one also runs more nerve signals better than this one.
Still trying to send the same amount of information to run the same amount of things.
Exactly. And it causes all kinds of issues. A lot of people first focus on the neck pain. Oh, my neck, it hurts. But more importantly is, what else are those nerves going to? What else are they controlling? So a lot of people will get symptoms, down the arms, like a numbness, tingling, pain.
Yep.
But more importantly, what's going on inside.
And that's a big other point too, is that pain's usually one of the last things to come along when something like that's happening. So the things that have been going on inside have actually been going on for a long time. Not the most from car accidents when it's something that happens right away, but something when it's been there for a while. Those are the issues that we're really trying to focus on.
And the pain takes a long time to develop. That's the one that people focus on. They say, oh, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't need to get checked because I have no pain. And what they don't realize is that same nerve that would be giving them the pain, that will be giving them the pain, in the near future
So
is already pinched
that
off.
it's not even giving the signal of the pain sometimes, too.
And it's also going elsewhere. There's only so many nerves coming out of the spine going everywhere in the whole body. So they don't just go to, the muscle that you get the tightness in. They don't just go to the areas that you get the pain. Those same nerves, they'll branch off and they'll split.
See up on the chart here, it's controlling all these same areas, are controlling all the organs, everything in your body.
Yep, goes your heart, your lungs, your digestion. A lot of times people get in a car accident and they'll say, oh, well, I don't have any pain or anything. But you know what I did notice, when I start really asking, anything going on, anything different? They'll say, I have a little more incontinence now. I can't seem to hold my bladder quite as well. I get an accident here and there, or little things that people, well, it's not a little thing, but things that people don't relate to the accident, things that people don't relate to their spine. Everything's being run by the brain. The brain controls everything through the nervous system going through the spine. So when you get an accident like that, it causes all kinds of issues.
Right. I wanted to go back too with that the reverse type of curve thing too. Something else. Some insurance companies did a study, and what they do is they're playing a gambling game of how long people are going to live.
These are life insurance?
Life insurance, yep. Mm-hmm. So what happens is they actually found out that through some studies that a reverse curve, just a phase 1 type of curve, it actually can cause, they start you, I think, at like 120 years should be the normal life expectancy. They take off 17 to 21 years just for a reverse curve.
And just to kind of put that into place, so these people are, they're just trying to figure out if this person does this, then they will live this long, so we charge them this much for their life insurance per month. And they're playing a gambling game, like you said. They want to make sure they're getting their money's worth before they have to pay out.
Right.
Now, that reverse curve, like you said, 17 to 21 years off your life expectancy, that's a big difference. But just to put that in context, it's about the same that they take off for somebody who smokes a pack of cigarettes every day.
For 10 years.
Yep. We'll take off 17 to 21 years as well. So that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a scary fact alone.
That's a chunk of your lifespan. Yep. So you really want to make sure you're keeping your spine in a line. It's really important. Even if you're not having the aches and pains, 20 years off your life expectancy, that alone should be enough reason to make sure you're keeping your spine in line. So still talking about the car accidents too, another thing I want to get into that as we, again, are changing the season here, winter. Winter accidents are bad. Here in Michigan, especially, we get a lot of snow. We get snow pretty consistently. We'll have a big storm. A few days later, another big storm. Every time, every morning after the big storm, you go out and you see 5 cars in the ditch. If you drive your car into the ditch, same thing. It's not just the whiplash injury. Now you're jarring your whole body, whether you're hitting it at an angle, depending on how you're doing it, but you're really doing some damage to yourself. Another one that a lot of people, that happens more often than the ditch, the ditch, people will get their insurance companies involved and, make it more of a big deal. But the just sliding into a curb. That's the one a lot of people say, oh, well, I just slid into a curb. It was no big deal. I no damage happened to my body. But it's that same thing. It's that 3 mile an hour.
Yeah, just like the video showed, the 3 mile an hour is barely just tapping something.
And you're going 3 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you tap something and it jars you. So that's a really common one. And then people come in and they say, oh, it was no big deal. I didn't even get my insurance company involved. And by law, legally here in Michigan, the way the no-fault insurance is, if you're in a car accident, as a doctor, we have to report, our findings, what happened to the insurance company, to the auto insurance company, so they can make a determination on how the case is going. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people say, oh, well, it was no big deal, and I don't want to get my insurance company involved because all I have is PIP. I don't even have coverage. All I have is the PIP coverage. And a lot of people don't understand how insurance works.
Is the coverage for autos. Yeah.
That is the health insurance. PIP stands for personal injury protection. It only covers for your health. So if you're in any kind of a car accident, whether it's just a fender bender, a slip into a curb, fall into a ditch, no matter what it is, first place you should stop is a chiropractor's office. Well, let me take that back. A couple places you could stop. If you're hemorrhaging, if you have breaks, stop at the hospital first, of course. But then your second stop should be to the chiropractor, because we want to really make sure that we're keeping you in line, especially fresh after an accident. The longer it's out of place, the harder it is for us to put it back
Yep.
in. Yep. So getting back into winter, now we were talking about raking a little bit earlier. Do you want to take a couple minutes to talk about snow shoveling?
Sure. So similar to the raking is going to be that extending your arm, pushing everything forward. The big difference is instead of pulling with snow shoveling, it's going to be pushing things forward.
Yep.
Mechanically on your spine, the way the shoulder blades are working, it's real similar to the raking of the leaves.
So same thing, you really just want to focus on your posture. You want to stand up nice and straight. If you're bending over while you're pushing, again, causes all kinds of issues. A lot more often with the snow shoveling than the raking, you have
the weight of what you're pushing too,
Yep.
is going to cause a lot more, and that's something too we tell people to focus on is don't take too big of a scoop, don't overdo what you're supposed to be doing with it.
On average, when you're snow shoveling, average scoop ends up being about 20 pounds. So you really want to make sure you're keeping it to what you can do. Now, when you're lifting it up, now again, you want to focus more on pushing than lifting. When you're snow shoveling, the push is a little bit easier on your body than the lift, because now all of a sudden you're lifting 20 pounds. Again, it's not right here. You're not lifting 20 pounds here. You're lifting 20 pounds way out there, so it seems a lot heavier, causes a lot more issues for your back. So again, you're always going to want to be standing straight up. If you do have to lift, you're going to want to keep it in front of you. You don't want to lift and then twist. You don't want to lift and then twist and then throw.
And that one too is going back to that study we talked about with the further you're bending forward, the more pressure. Adding an extra 20 pounds 5 feet out in front of you is going to massively increase that pressure.
And then especially if you're already twisted and bent, really causes some issues.
Yeah.
Another one we see a lot with the snow shoveling is throwing it over your shoulder. They say, I'm trying to get it back there, so I just want to shovel it back. That causes issues too, because now when you're shoveling it over your shoulder, you're putting your body in some weird positions. You got to bend off to the side, so you're taking something 3 or 4 feet, 5 feet in front of you, 20 pounds, and you're leaning and throwing. A lot of issues involved there.
Yeah.
So again, as with everything we talk about, you always just want to keep in the back of your mind your posture, stay conscious of your body. But as we get into the winter months here, it becomes more and more of an issue. Now, talking about winter, what's the number one thing we hear about with winter injuries?
Slips and falls.
Slips and falls. So you want to just take a couple minutes and talk about the mechanics, what exactly happens to your body on a slip and fall?
Sure. So what we call it, it's a Fouch type of injury where you slip and fall out and outstretched arms. So people are going to get a lot of injuries just from the initial fall, landing on their arms, kind of torques things out of place. The fall itself, the landing too on it is, people move a lot of stuff just from the initial impact.
And there's a lot of different types of falls too. The Fouch injury is the most common one because people reach out, they try to catch themselves, and they fall on their arm, ends up hurting their wrist, their elbow, their shoulder.
Comes up lower neck, upper back type of thing.
Pushes back there, really affects the spine. So the Fouch injury, that fall on outstretched arms, Fouch, really causes a lot of issues. But not only that, like you were saying, the fall itself. So you can fall on your knee, on your hip, on your butt, fall straight back, land on your back, fall straight back, hit your head on the cement.
And something too people don't usually realize is, like, say you fall on your knee. There's a whole chain of things going through your body that actually take that impact and take the damage from it.
And people come into my office and say, I fell on my knee. It's bruised. Can you check my knee out? I check their knee out. Yeah, the knee is definitely misaligned. But as I'm checking them, their knee is misaligned, their hip is misaligned.
Going into the low back,
the spine,
and up from there.
Yep, could be everything. And especially, too, when you fall, you can even get that same thing like the whiplash injury. When you're falling, you're moving. You're going the 3 miles an hour is all it takes.
And then the dead stop impact when you land.
And then that dead stop impact. So all of a sudden you're jerked and jarred. Really causes issues to the spine.
And that's actually, through some other studies, it's actually the most common injury, workplace-related injury is slips and falls from ice and things.
Absolutely. Now, most people put focus on the slip and fall. They say, I slipped and I fell, and now I'm having these issues. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is the slip without the fall. We get people coming in, they say, this hurts and that hurts, and I have no idea what happened. And you start getting into it and asking them some questions, and it turns out they had a slip. They didn't fall, they didn't hit the ground or anything, but that slip itself where they go to correct themselves.
Oddly catch themselves, yeah.
You know, you slip and then you do this whole number here. You're jerking your body pretty good, and your muscles, your stabilizing muscles, they're working in an emergency sense. They're not just moving you like this, like I'm doing. You get jerked one way, jerked another way, catch your balance, cause a lot of issues there as well. You can even whiplash yourself from a standing position without even hitting anything. You know, you get a little slip and you just jerk all over the place, and whoa, that was close. I almost went down, and all of a sudden, you know, a couple days later, you're feeling it. Mm-hmm. So again, same thing as with the car accident. You know, after a slip and fall or just a slip, first place you should be stopping is the chiropractor's office, because again, the longer it's out of place, the worse off it is. The analogy we like to give there for the time frame is dentists putting braces on the teeth, or orthodontists putting braces on the teeth. The longer the problem's been there, the harder it is to correct. Children who have braces on their teeth, on average, will have braces on their teeth for about a year to 2 years. Adults who have braces on their teeth have them for, on average, about 5 years. Same concept applies. They're moving bones in your mouth, we're moving bones in your spine, but when things are used to holding it in that position, it takes longer to get it corrected. So right after an accident, it's a little bit easier for us to start getting that motion back in there, getting it back to where it should be. If you wait 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years later, you know,
that's when it's taking a lot longer to get the problem corrected.
Then it's going to take a lot longer. We say on average for chiropractic care, just as a general rule of thumb, sometimes it's a lot faster, sometimes it's a little slower, but we say on average for every 1 year that an issue has been there,
about a month of care.
It takes about 1 month of intensive chiropractic care, so that's usually 3 times a week adjustment regime. 1 month will correct for about 1 year. And again, sometimes people will get a lot faster correction, sometimes people will get a lot slower correction, but on average that rings right about true.
That's about right, yeah.
So again, winter months, a couple other things that I want to mention. So we got, you know, the snow shoveling, we got the slips and falls, we got the car accidents. A lot of people will have, especially children, will have playing in the snow, and they end up jarring themselves a lot. A lot of people don't realize how active kids are, especially outside, especially in the winter months, where they'll have a slip and fall and get right back up and do it again 5 minutes later.
Yeah, almost on purpose, some of it.
You know,
yeah.
kids are always active. Kids are, you know, slipping, falling.
The good news, though, with the playing in the snow with the kids is that it's at least a little bit of padding for them. It's
a little bit softer
landing
landing.
On the hard ground.
And again, when a child falls, their fall is from lower height than when an adult falls. But same thing, you know, if you're falling, if you go out and play in the snow for an hour, fall down 5 times, come back in, you know,
there's going to be some damage there from that.
Now, kids, what they'll feel is their bruises. You know, they'll say, "Oh boy, I fell down. I got a bruise on my knee. Oh boy, that hurts." Or they'll say, "Oh, I got a bruise on my butt from when I fell." But then when the bruise goes away, they say, "Oh, I feel better." Kids don't feel the aches and pains. Kids don't feel the same things that the adults are feeling.
That's another important one, too, we can touch on just for a second, is that with the kids getting the bruises, the aches, the falls, it's 20 years later before they realize something happened, that something's going on with it.
Absolutely. Quick example along there. Let's say little girl, 5 years old, running around playing in the snow, falling down. She falls down. She gets a bruise on her knee. It's right back out playing a couple minutes later. No big issue. Well, she doesn't realize that the nerves in her lower back that are going to her reproductive system are pinched. Now, is a 5-year-old girl going to realize issues with her reproductive system?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, right? Now, 10 years later, 20 years later, that's when she has the issues. Now, all of a sudden, she's got an abnormal cycle, or doctor tells her, "Oh, you can't have kids. You know, there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry, you know, there's something wrong here." But it all stems from that fall when you're 5 years old, which is the reason why we like to see a lot of kids in our office. Not for the pain management, but for prevention.
Preventing problems from the future, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, kids really respond well to chiropractic too. Again, not necessarily to treat their symptoms, to prevent things, but what parents notice the most when they bring kids in are behavioral issues start to clear up. Sinuses, allergies, asthma starts to clear up. You know, the things that kids get aren't the back pain, the neck pain, it's other issues. But just by making sure that the brain and the body are communicating properly really makes a big difference for these kids,
Yeah.
Especially when they're growing and developing. Again, it makes a big difference. So we see a lot of kids in the office, and that's one of the reasons why. It's a very rewarding part of our care.
It's nice that we're not just working on the pain, and it's actually the prevention type things that we're really trying to work with.
Absolutely. And most people don't realize that about chiropractors. There's a common perception in the public that, whoa, you go to your chiropractor for neck pain, back pain, headaches, anything else you don't need to go to a chiropractor for. That's not true. We're here for prevention. We're here for overall health. We're not just here for pain management. We see a lot of that in the office. For us, too, that's the reason we do the show. That's the reason why we get out in the public. We do outside lectures. We do, try to educate the public on how the body works, why it's important to take care of yourself. We're going to switch gears here for a little bit as well. As always, we're going to talk some about chiropractic. We were kind of getting into it a little bit earlier when we were showing the spine, the nervous system. But real quick, if you would, Dr. Neal, could you explain the subluxation?
Sure. So the big word subluxation that us chiropractors use breaks down to a couple different things, makes it a lot more simple. Basically what happens is some sort of abnormal stress on the body will cause bones to go out of place in your back. The bones out of place actually closes off. There's a hole here where the nerves actually come out. The bone out of place actually causes that to pinch off, which causes pressure on the nerve, which causes the interference and problems to happen in the body.
And again, those nerves are going everywhere. A lot of people don't realize how important the nervous system is. Now, when you get one of those subluxations, a pinched off nerve, sure, you can get the aches, the pains, but it's so much more important than that. Let's say, just for example's sake, let's just say that this nerve controls your heart, okay?
Yep.
There's no one nerve in the body that completely controls your heart. But just for example's sake, this one nerve completely controls your heart. Let's say I cut it in half with the scissors. What's going to happen to you?
Heart's going to stop working.
Heart's going to stop working, right? It's not a trick question. You're not going to make it very far, right?
Right.
Now let's say instead of cutting that in half with the scissors, now I take a rubber band, wrap it around it just enough that I put some pressure on that nerve. Now what's going to happen?
Exact same thing.
Exact same thing. Now is it going to kill you as quickly as cutting in half with the scissors?
No.
No.
It's going to take some time.
But slowly over time, is it going to cause issues?
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's say that this nerve is being pinched off in such a way that it's blocking the signals. Now, kind of like a garden hose, when you pinch off a garden hose.
An example I like when we talk about that one, if anyone's ever put a rubber band on their finger, and after time you just kind of watch, it starts to change colors, eventually starts turning black and blue type of thing, and that's from everything being cut off. And that example is going to be a blood thing, but to the nervous system, it's the exact same thing.
Yep, it's the nerve flow. So let's say now the nerve signal is getting blocked off. Now, that nerve is going completely controlling your heart. So what's that going to do? It's going to cause low blood pressure, low heart rate. It's going to slow everything down. Let's say it's being pinched off in such a way that that nerve is actually being irritated, causing too much signal. So now instead of sending the signal for the right blood pressure, the right heart rate, now all of a sudden you have high blood pressure, fast heart rate, that kind of thing. So it can affect you either way. We get people in the office sometimes, and they'll be chatting in the waiting room saying, "Oh boy, ever since I've been coming here, my high blood pressure's been under control. I feel so much better." The person right next to him saying, "Wait a second, that doesn't make sense because I was coming in here for low blood pressure, and all he did was push on my back, same thing he did to you, and he corrected my low blood pressure." So that doesn't work both ways. It absolutely works both ways. That's how the body works.
Because we're working with trying to send a proper signal from the brain, not really working with, it's the high blood pressure, low blood pressure. We're working with the actual signal going to that area. We
don't treat symptoms. We just make sure we're facilitators more than anything. Your brain controls your body. Your brain is smarter than any doctor in the world. Your body can take a piece of apple and turn it into a kidney cell. I don't know any doctors who can take an apple and turn it into kidney cells. Your body can. Your body has more chemical reactions every second in your liver going on than Dow Chemical has all year. That's how intelligent your body is. And your brain controls your body, and it does it all from the brain through the nervous system going everywhere, and vice versa from the body going back up to the brain. When that gets pinched off, it really affects your body. Really causes some issues. real quick, I just want to get into, I brought a poem today that the developer of Chiropractic wrote, Dr. B.J. Palmer, and just talk about how these subluxations really affect the world in general. This is called The Big Idea, and it's by Dr. B.J. Palmer, written in 1944, and even all those years past, still really applies. So, a slip on the snowy sidewalk in winter is a small thing. It happens to millions. A fall from a ladder in the summer is a small thing. It also happens to millions. This slip or fall produces a subluxation. The subluxation is a small thing. This subluxation produces pressure on the nerve, and that pressure, again, is a small thing. That decreased flowing produces a diseased body and brain. This is a big thing to that man, that woman, that child. Multiply that sick man, woman, and child by 1,000, and you control the physical and mental welfare of a city. Multiply that man, woman, child by 130 million, and you forecast and can prophesy the physical and mental status of a nation. So that slip or fall, that subluxation, the pressure, the flow of mental impulses and disease are big enough to control the thoughts and actions of a nation. Now we come to a man, and one man or woman is a small thing. This man or woman gives an adjustment. This adjustment is a small thing. And that adjustment is what we do as chiropractors. The adjustment is us moving those bones back towards in place to get the pressure off the nerves. But that adjustment is a small thing, and that adjustment replaces the subluxation, and that too is a small thing. But that adjusted subluxation releases the pressure on the nerves, which is a small thing. That released pressure restores health to that man, woman, or child, and that is a big thing to that man, woman, or child. Multiply that well man, woman, or child by 1,000, you step up the physical and mental welfare of a city. Multiply that well man, woman, or child by 1,000,000, and you increase the efficiency of a state. Multiply that well man, woman, or child by 130 million, and you've produced a healthy, wealthy, better race for posterity. So the adjustment of the subluxation to release the pressure on the nerves, to restore the mental impulse flow, to restore the health, is big enough to rebuild the thoughts and actions of the world. This idea knows the cause that can correct the cause of disease, is one of the biggest ideas known. Without it, nations fall. With it, nations rise. This is the biggest idea I know of. Thoughts?
It's a big one.
Absolutely. I love, too, how he calls it the big idea.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing on a day-to-day, it really is a small thing. You know, we're helping one person at a time, but one person...
It's the effect of that one person multiplied by however many going on past that.
Absolutely. And again, that subluxation, it's a small thing, but to the person who has that subluxation, it's a big thing. It really affects their health, it affects everything about them. If you have somebody who's in pain every day, it affects their thought process. It affects their habits. The person who's got low back pain, 10 out of 10 every day, might be a little bit more grouchy than if they had it 0 out of 10.
People that barely even gets up to go do anything. They're going to be one laying around doing nothing with themselves at the time.
Absolutely. So what we're doing, again, is small. It's just a small thing over and over again, and it's a big thing for that person. It's a big thing in general. So that person who is in 10 out of 10 pain, it doesn't get out and do much. All of a sudden they're at 0 out of 10. Now they go out and they're a contributing member to society.
Or even say you take them from a 10 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, and just the small amount of extra things they're able to start doing.
Really makes a big difference. And that subluxation, again, I know it's a big word, it's a big fancy Latin word. In my office, it's the only fancy Latin word I ever have anyone learn. I even tell them that first visit. I say, let me teach you about the subluxation. Again, this is the only big, long, fancy Latin word I'll ever ask you to learn. But it really makes a big difference, just educating them. They know exactly what's going on. But just in a nutshell, what that subluxation is a bone that moves out of place, pinches off a nerve. That pinched off nerve makes a big difference. So we're going to get back into here in just a minute a little bit more about the subluxation. What I want to talk about, too, is a couple of things that people can do at home on their own and really help keep their spines healthy. One big thing, and we'll get into it here in a little bit, we'll actually demonstrate some of the exercises, are motion. The big thing that you can do that will really cause more subluxation is lack of motion. Now that subluxation, that bone being out of place, pinching off the nerve, what it is, that bone is fixated. It's moved out of place and stuck there. Now your bones, they should be able to move back and forth on a daily basis because you can bend, twist, and move. But when those bones are stuck out of place, it causes a lot of issues. So one of the big causes of having bones stuck out of place is not moving. So what I'm talking about here is the
Which
couch
is the
potato.
double-edged sword on itself, that you start getting lazy because something's hurting. That makes it actually worse by not moving it.
Exactly. So that couch potato, that, you know, when I say exercise, I'm not talking about get in the gym, bench press, you know, pump some iron.
Just get up and move.
Just get up and move.
It's that simple.
Absolutely. You know, just walk around, stretch, just kind of move one way or the other. And like I said, we'll get into some exercises here in just a minute. But motion is really important. Now, kind of switch gears here again before we get into those exercises. We have what we call the dream. We have our 5 pillars of health, and the E in dream stands for exercise, and that's again what we're talking about is that just moving. But there's 5 pillars of health, and when you're using all of them properly, all of them together, then you're in a perfect state of health. And do you want to just kind of get into the dream a little bit for us?
So the dream is our acronym of the 5 pillars. The first one is going to be diet. And once again, just like the exercise one, we're not talking about going on a diet, changing everything, eating less. We're talking better nutrition puts for better healing, builds better things in your body.
The word diet,
sense.
a lot of people have, you know, they hear that word and they say, "Ooh, I don't want to be on a diet." Everyone's on a diet.
The word diet just means what you're putting into your body.
Exactly. So my diet is everything that I eat. Your diet is a little bit different. It's everything that you eat.
Exactly.
But everyone has a diet. Proper diet, proper nutrition is really important. You know, you can have everything functioning just perfectly. You know, you have nervous system working right. You get plenty of exercise. Everything's working perfectly. But you're malnourished. Are you healthy?
No.
No, exactly. So anytime your body's in any kind of toxicity, so whether it's too much of a toxic substance or not enough of a substance that you need, anytime your body's out of balance, it causes issues. So for that first one, for the diet, you want to make sure you're getting everything you need in your diet. So if you're one of us unbalanced American diets, to say the least, we got fast food, we got processed food. A lot of people aren't getting what they need. Some people need to take supplements. Some people need, you know, just to make sure you're getting everything that you need.
Right. So our next category in the dream is going to be rest. And that is going to be the time when your body does the most healing, the most processing, functioning things, and rebuilding. Proper amount of sleep per night is about 6 to 8 hours. And any less, any more is kind of not quite going to fit right for you.
Now, most people that I know don't get that proper 8 hours.
Right.
Most people are a little bit under-rested. Yeah, that's when the body heals itself the most. That's when your body isn't using any of its energy to control your muscles. It's using all of its energy to control your organs, to regulate itself. Really makes a big difference. So again, if I have everything in my body, you know, everything in my life is perfect. I have the perfect diet. I have my nervous system's looking, you know, everything's great, except I haven't slept in 3 days. Am I healthy?
No.
Absolutely
not. In fact,
not.
Going into the not sleeping for a couple days thing, usually when we talk about the rest portion of the dream, we go into a study they did on, it was a psychiatry study about lack of sleep. And what they did is they took a group of people, they split it in half, and they put them, it was a prison experiment they did. So they dressed half of them up like prison guards, half of them like prisoners, and told them to function and gave them no sleep. And they actually, after a day or two, they had to cut the experiment because the prison guards were actually beating the prisoner people for it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Lack
something
of
to
sleep.
go with sleep kind of really messes you up if you're not getting any.
Lack of sleep really is an
Extremely
important factor of the body. So we got diet, rest.
Next one was the exercise, going and getting up, just getting some sort of motion, doing something other than laying on the couch.
Exactly. You know, they got that. If you don't use it, you lose it. You know, if you're just sitting on the couch all day, your muscles stop working properly. Everything gets fixated. It's that subluxation starts to form because you're not moving. And again, we'll get into a couple exercises that people can do on their own at home on a daily basis that'll really help keep motion in their spine and help prevent further issues from forming.
Our next one is going to be attitude, is the A in the dream. And that is having a proper attitude. If you ever notice somebody that's having a terrible day, they're usually slouched over, just not very happy. As compared to somebody having a good day, they're always happy, standing up, moving, just good attitude, and that goes along with health. Having a good attitude is going to facilitate for good health.
Yeah, positive mental attitude couldn't be more important. Here's an example I like to give. 2 people, exactly the same condition, both of them go in, have open heart surgery, exactly the same. They're recovering. One person just sits there in their room laying down all day, maybe turns on the TV, nurse comes in and visits them. Person B has family with them every second of every day, surrounding them with flowers and balloons, bright colors, supporting them. Which one of those people has a better chance of a better recovery?
More often the one with the family, the everything.
Absolutely. It's not even,
right.
it's not even a question.
Yeah.
You know, the positive mental attitude really does make a big difference.
Definitely. And then our last one in the dream is going to be maintenance of your nervous system. So this is like we were talking about with the kids, where we're setting things in place, keeping it straight to prevent the things. It is, in our patients, it's the ones where they're past the point of where they're coming in for type of pain management, and it's more to where we're just maintaining, making sure nothing goes out of place, making sure that the nervous system's functioning right.
Absolutely. Everything that has motion needs maintenance. You know, if you look at a clock, if you look at your car, you know, everything that has moving parts needs maintenance. Your body is a moving thing. It needs maintenance as well. Now, your body has something inside of it that maintains itself. Your brain, your body, your nervous system maintains itself. So what you need to maintain is you need to maintain your maintenance system.
That's a good way to put it.
If your nervous system is being pinched off, it's trying to maintain you, it's trying to keep you healthy, and it's not able to. So what we do, like I said earlier, we're facilitators more than anything. We just make sure we unpinch those nerves so that your body can do what it's meant to do, take care of itself, maintain itself, and that's how you truly stay healthy. And again, each one of these builds on all the other ones. You can't have, you know, one without the other. Let's say you have a great diet. Everything you get is perfect, and you take the best supplements. You know, you spend thousands of dollars every month taking this vitamin and that supplement and this herb just to make sure you have all the nutrients you need. Now, let's say your nervous system is being pinched off a little bit, and the nerves that are going to your digestive system aren't working quite right, and they're not absorbing these vitamins. So now you're spending thousands of dollars taking these vitamins, saying, oh, I'm so healthy.
Pretty much just throwing it away.
And those vitamins come in, and those vitamins go out. What you have there is a very expensive flush. So you want to make sure that, again, you're keeping all of them, you know, proper diet, proper rest, proper exercises, positive mental attitude, maintenance of the spine and the nervous system. That's how you truly stay healthy, and that's what we're going for.
That's pretty much a good definition for health right there.
Yep. And as chiropractors, what we do, again, we focus mostly on the M, the maintenance. You know, we'll get into a little bit of exercise advice, nutritional advice, but for the most part, what we're doing is keeping that spine in line. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pause here just for a second. We're going to get back up, and we're going to show you guys some quick exercises, and we'll be right back.
All right.
All right, and welcome back to Ask the Chiropractor. So like we said, we're going to be showing you guys some quick exercises you can do on a daily basis. We recommend you do these exercises as often as you brush your teeth. These exercises, they're called spinal hygiene exercises. Similar to dental hygiene, you do it on a daily basis to keep yourself healthy. So you do them in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, getting ready. You do them at night when you're getting ready for bed. Just takes a couple of minutes, really makes a big difference for keeping motion in your spine. Again, it's that E in the dream, keep you healthy. So we're going to start off. We have a few exercises. These exercises are actually designed for kids, and they're actually the only exercises that are approved by the World Health Organization. And so we kind of have a funny breakdown for the names of the exercises. We'll get into that in a second. But they're designed for kids, so bear with us. But kids can do them, adults can do them. We recommend them for everyone. Just do them a couple times a day. We're going to start off in what we like to call the inner winter position. Inner winter position is standing up straight. We got our arms to our sides, shoulders back, tummies tucked in, heads right over our shoulders. This is the inner winter position because if you've ever been to a sporting event and seen somebody who loses the game, they're like this, we don't want...
Back to our attitude thing we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely.
Be in the winner.
But we don't want to be walking around like this. We want to be the winning team. We want to be standing up straight, proper posture. So that's the inner winner posture. We're going to start off with this. Then we're going to start off with our first 3 exercises. They're called our flying friends. We have 3 flying friends. We're going to start off from our biggest to our smallest, kind of work our way down. Our first flying friend is what we like to call the eagle. So we're going to start off in that inner winner position. What we're going to do is we're going to bring our arms up our sides, and as we go up, we're going to tilt our heads back and back down. And when we go down, bring our heads back to neutral. We don't bring them all the way down. We're just back to neutral. Go up again. When you're going up, you should take a deep breath in. And when you go back down, you should breathe back out. You should really feel it stretching your spine straight up.
Is to go slow, feel the stretch, and to not just go fast and whip through it.
Exactly.
That's not going to give you the proper
Yep.
stretching from it.
Yeah, these aren't jumping jacks we're doing. These are stretches exercises. So that's our first flying friend. That's the eagle. Moving on from the eagle, our next flying friend is the hummingbird. Our hummingbird is meant to keep motion on our spines as well, but it's meant to really strengthen the muscles that hold our shoulders back. Where there's too many habits these days, whether it's computers, cell phones, driving your car, everything that brings your shoulders forward, brings your head down. We don't want to be that. We don't want to be the old man walking around like this. We want to be proper posture, so we want to strengthen the muscles in our back. So to do that, again, we're going to start off in that inner winner position. We're going to bring our arms up, and we're just going to make small circles backwards. We're really going to be focusing right in between our shoulder blades, really strengthening those muscles. We can kind of work different muscle groups too. We can kind of bring our arms up a little bit, just work a little bit different muscle group. Bring our arms down a little bit, work a little different muscle group. Again, always going backwards, focusing between our shoulder blades, just small circles. We don't want to be doing big circles. We don't want to be going forward, just small circles backwards.
Another variation too, you kind of tilt to the side, stretches the muscles a little bit more.
Yep. We have the hummingbird.
Hummingbird or the drunken hummingbird if you're not a child.
Just fly a little bit crooked with the drunken hummingbird. Okay. So those are our first 2 flying friends. So again, we have the eagle, we have the hummingbird. Our last flying friend is called the butterfly. What we're going to do for the butterfly is we're just going to kind of link our hands together. We're going to put our hands back behind our heads. Now, we're not going to be pushing forward with our hands into our heads. But what we're going to be doing is pushing backwards with our head into our hands. And just light pressure into your hands. What we're doing here is we're strengthening the muscles in the back of the neck. So again, we're avoiding that forward head posture. So we're just putting a little bit of force
and you just
backwards.
Let your fingers slowly slip apart from each other and let your head kind of go through them.
Exactly. And the motion isn't looking up. The motion is pushing straight backwards. You know that you're doing it right if you end up with a double chin from it, pushing you straight backwards. So those are our flying friends. So again, to recap, we got the eagle, the hummingbird, and the butterfly. Moving on, now we have what we call the star exercises. So again, for the star exercise, we're going to start off in that same inner winner position. And we're going to bring our arms out to our sides, make a star with our body. These are called the star exercises. We have 3 of them. First one's going to be called the Twirling Star. And again, this is just great exercise for just keeping motion in there. We're just going nice, slow, controlled motions. We're not jerking one way. We're not trying to pop our backs or anything. Just nice, slow, controlled motion, keeping motion on our spines. And that's the Twirling Star. Our next star is called the Tilting Star. Similar concept. Again, we're just keeping motion on our spines, but we're going to make our bodies into a star, and we're just going to tilt side to side. And again, just a couple minutes, just kind of back and forth, back and forth. The important thing here is the motion. Again, nice, slow, controlled motion. With any of these exercises, too, if you have any pain or discomfort, stop doing that one. Get checked out.
Modify it a little bit. We're not trying to cause damage. We're trying to just get motion.
Or get checked out by a spinal care professional as well. If you're having issues, that means that you already have some issues. So our last star exercise is going to be called the Twisting Star. And for the Twisting Star, it's a little bit different. We're actually going to bring our arms up. And we're bringing our right arm to our left leg and our left arm to our right leg. It's called a cross crawl exercise. It really does a great job forming connections in the brain and the body. It's great for kids, but even great for adults as well. Last one we're going to do is just we call it the trap opener. Kind of just relax ourselves, give ourselves a little bit of a massage. Just kind of work these muscles here. These are called your trap muscles. You can get into them with 2 hands, get into them with 1 hand. Either way, we're just really trying to loosen up. This muscle carries a lot of people's stress, a lot of people's tension. Okay. And that'll close us up for our exercises, and we will be right back again. All right. And we just want to thank our guest here, Dr. Neil Rodnick. I'm Dr. Paul Rodnick. We also want to thank our viewing audience. This is a great show. And thanks so much. Remember, God gave you the gift of life. What you do with that life is your gift back to God. And have a great day. Thanks so much. It was a great show.
Good show.
Absolutely.